Hey everybody, I am Brady Briggs. Welcome to another episode of the Combat Logic.
Yeah. With the lights out, it's so dangerous. Here we are now, entertain us. I'm so stupid and contagious. Here we are now, entertain us. I'm alive.
Let's get into some fight recaps, shall we? Starting off with PFL 4, happened this past Friday. Rob Wilkinson really looked great. I'll say that. That's the dude that Israel Adesanya made his UFC debut against. He's a former middleweight, obviously, and I'll tell you what, man, as a light heavyweight, he is really sizable. Like, I can't believe he was that big. But yeah, he's now 15-2 as a professional, and he's now won his last 4 straight since losing to Adesanya, which is pretty impressive. Emiliano Sordi was upset at this event, which was surprising for someone to see, but I'm pretty sure he lost his last fight coming into this fight too. He's a PFL champ, and he got stopped in like less than 2 minutes. Actually, this was a pretty good card, especially the prelims, because 5 of those 6 prelims ended via finish. Natan Schultz versus Marcin Held. That's the one prelim that didn't. That's the one prelim that went the distance. And it was a bit different of a fight than the first. It was still pretty back and forth, but Schultz really, took it to him, pressed the action the entire 3 rounds. Martin was not very excited to get this matchup again. And honestly, I don't blame him because he already beat him. And now, he's 1-1 against him. And he was kind of, I wouldn't say lucky, but he was kind of lucky to win that first fight against him because it really could have gone either way. It was a very, very close fight. Well, they rematched, and Schultz won pretty handily this time around. So, Omari Akhmedov, he did really well too against his Lithuanian opponent. I'm not even going to try to attempt his name because I'll butcher it. But Omari was a long time UFC staple that fought at waterweight and middleweight. He's now a light heavyweight in the PFL, and he's gone 2-1 thus far in the PFL, but he's gone 2-0 this year so far. So, and with 2 finishes. So he's got 11 points in the PFL's light heavyweight division. I'm pretty sure Rob Wilkinson has 11 points. There might be somebody else too, but he's right at the tip top of the division right now. He knocked out Victor Pesta in his last fight, which, dude, he used to be a heavyweight. Like, Victor Pesta used to be a heavyweight, man. He fought Derek Lewis and a couple other guys in the UFC up at heavyweight. And then a former welterweight KOs him in the first round. And then he submitted, his opponent on Friday to go 2-0 this year. And, another thing about Omari, he used to be a decision machine. Well, 4 of his last 5 fights have ended before the distance. So that's pretty cool. Jeremy Stephens versus Miles Price. Man, Jeremy Stephens really is not the same fighter he once was. He's really not. He did get this split decision victory, but it could have went either way. It was such a close fight. And Miles Price, 11-8 going into it. I don't know, man. I think it's time for Jeremy Stephens to hang it up, but obviously he's not going to. He's at least got the rest of the season to go through. Olivier Aubin-Mercier beat Haush Manfio. This was a very boring fight, I'll tell you, but good on Mercier. He's now 4-0 in PFL since leaving the UFC. Antonio Carlos Jr. beat Bruce Soto pretty handily. Got the 30-27 sweep, last year's light heavyweight champion. And Alex Martinez versus Clay Collard. Man, this was a back-and-forth fight. Like, this was a very, very back-and-forth fight. And, it could have went either way, but Alex Martinez got the split decision, which, I can't argue with. Clay started each round strong. He pretty much won the first half of the first. He pretty much won the first half of the first, second, and third rounds, and lost the second half of the first, second, and third round. So it was a very close fight. I'm glad Martinez is getting a little bit of shine though, because he's a good fighter. All right, going to the UFC. It's another very special event. Roman Dolidze versus Kyle Dawkins. Man, this didn't go how any of us thought it would. Kyle Dawkins was like a 3-1 favorite going into this fight. and he was 1-2 in the UFC going into his fight with Kevin Holland, who he pretty much dominated before it was overturned, obviously, because he headbutted him. But he darce choked Kevin Holland, and then he darce choked Jamie Pickett. Those were his 2 fights coming into this fight. I was like, whoa, he actually is pretty fucking talented. And this result doesn't change that. He's still a very talented kid, but yeah, I didn't expect it. Roman Dolidze is strong as shit. His striking is pretty good. He dropped Dawkins. Dawkins was trying to go for a takedown. He's going for a single leg, but Dolidze was having none of that. Sprawled out hard as shit. And then they got back up. Dolidze has Dawkins, pressed into the fence, and he lands a vicious knee to Dawkins' cheekbone and starches him at 113 of the first round. None of us expected that. It was a very good win for Dolidze. He's not 4-1 in the UFC. Phil Hawes and Deron Winn. Man, this is, again, not the fight I expected. I don't think this is a fight that anybody expected, man. Deron Winn is one of the better wrestlers in the UFC, let alone in the division he fights in. He didn't go for a single takedown in this fight. While he was getting picked apart, and not even just picked apart, he was getting his fucking ass beat this whole fight. Like, dude, Hawes' boxing was looking incredible. His kicks were looking great. Like, he was keeping the distance beautifully. And then he starts using elbows, which, dude, is almost like John Jones when he fought Rashad Evans, except he landed a lot more of them. Okay? Like, he was so dominant in this fight, and Winn did not go for a takedown attempt. He got hurt like 10 different times, and that didn't even make him go for a takedown. It's insane to me. Absolutely insane to me why he didn't do that. Like, that was obviously his path to victory. Not to mention, Phil Hawes has a 7-inch reach advantage on Deron Winn. Okay, why didn't Winn try to wrestle? I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway, it's a very good win for Phil Hawes. He's not 12-3. He has defeated Jacob Malkoun, who he knocked out in 18 seconds. Malkoun just gave Brennan Allen one of the toughest fights he's ever had. Nasruddin Imavov, who has done very, very well for himself lately. Kyle Dawkins, who, though was knocked out on Saturday, has done very well for himself. And not Deron Winn. His only loss in the UFC was Chris Curtis. And his only losses before that were to Luis Taylor and Julian Marquez, one of which is in the UFC, both of which are good fighters. So, next up, Cody Stamann and Eddie Wineland. This was kind of sad to see, but I'm glad Eddie Wineland retired after the fight, because Cody Stamann is not a finisher. That doesn't mean he can't finish his opponents. That doesn't mean he's not dangerous. He is. He's one of the best fighters in the world, but he's not a finisher. And Eddie Wineland, to get knocked out for the 3rd time in a row, he's just, after he got caught with that right hand, he never recovered, and he's just not at all as durable as he once was. His defense isn't as good as it once was either. But it was good to see Cody Stamann end 3-fight losing streak. So he snapped that with a 1st-round TKO. That was good to see. All right, so Eddie Wineland is the first ever world bantamweight champion. Okay, he won the WEC, the inaugural WEC bantamweight championship way back like 15 years ago. So respect him. Thank you for your always exciting career, Mr. Wineland. Ricardo Ramos and Danny Chavez. Man, this was a good fight. It didn't last very long. Dude, a lot of these fights didn't last very long. Yeah, Ricardo Ramos, he's always got some flashy spinning attacks. Okay, but if you remember correctly, he won his 2nd UFC fight by a spinning back elbow. He knocked out Faraz Zahabi's brother, Ayman Zahabi, in the 3rd round, KO'd him with a spinning back elbow. Well, he does that again. I think he said there's 5 spinning back elbows in UFC history, and he has 2 of them. If there are 5, the other 3 are Molly McCann, Dong Young Kim, and Yuri Prohaska. Those are the 3 that I can think of. I'm pretty sure I heard him say that there's only 5, but there might be a couple more. Anyway, he's got 2 of the less than 10 spinning back elbows in UFC history, which is remarkable. Jeremiah Wells absolutely starched Court McGee. Man, this was a vicious left hook. Like, wow. It might have been a right hook, actually. I don't remember. It was it was either a right or left hook. It was a hook. And, yeah, he's now 3-0 in the UFC on a 5-fight win streak with all finishes. 3 of those by knockout, 2 by submission. All the knockouts are KOs. That's pretty impressive. He's got some heavy hands. Adrian Yanez versus Tony Kelly. This was a great fight. No, Tony Kelly missed weight by 1.5 pounds, and the audience was booing him going into this fight when they were announced. I was thinking initially that it was because he missed weight, but after thinking about it, I was like, actually, Yanez was the hometown boy in this fight, so they were going to boo him anyways. So what does Tony Kelly do? He flips off the camera, flips off the crowd, flips off the camera again. And then in the middle of the fight, which lasted 3 minutes and 49 seconds into the first round, mind you, he begins talking shit to Adrian. Like, I don't know what he said. Adrian didn't specify what he said, but he's like, yeah, just in the middle of the fight, he's talking shit. And I was like, I'm going to make you pay for that. And he knocked him out, dude. It was beautiful to see. But what I have to say about this, man, Adrian Yanez is a truly special talent. He is 28 years old. He'll be turning 29 in November. He's now 5-0 in the UFC. He's on a 9-fight win streak, 7 finishes in those 9 wins. And he's 5-0 in the UFC with 4 knockouts. The only guy he couldn't knock out was Davey Grant, which, you know, there's no shame there. He still beat him. Like, I see Adrian Yanez becoming a serious star in the sport. He's never been finished. In his last 2 losses, Domingo Pilarde, who's in the UFC by split decision, and Miles Johns, who's also in the UFC, also a split decision. And this was for the LFA Bantamweight Championship. He went 5 rounds on this fight. It's the last time he lost. I see Yanez becoming a really big star. Dude, he can box so well. He's a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which we haven't even seen yet. He's so fast. He hits so hard. But starting with his UFC debut, his performance bonuses include performance of the night, performance of the night, performance of the night, fight of the night, and performance of the night. 5 fights in the UFC, 5 performance bonuses. That's impressive. Gregory Rodriguez versus Julian Marquez again. Another wicked fight. Dude, Marquez can take a fucking shot, I'll tell you that. He might have got knocked out in the first round, but my God, the damage he took in this fight, like, holy shit. It's crazy to me. For Gregory Rodriguez to be a jiu-jitsu world champion, to be as good as he is at grappling, to not have submitted anyone since 2018. That was his 5th win. His 5th win is the last time he submitted someone. He now has 12. All right. Since then, his wins are unanimous decision, KO body kick, KO punch, KO punches, unanimous decision, KO punches, and KO punches. He's not even getting just regular knockouts. They're not TKOs. They're all KOs. Every single one of his opponents went out. Like, that's remarkable. Like, he has such a bright future. He is 30 years old already, but man, what an athlete it takes to do something like that. Aaliyah Tapuria is kind of like that. He won like his first 7 fights by submission, and he's won 4 of his last 5 by KO, something like that. Like, it takes a truly special athlete to be able to evolve like that. Like, wow. Damir Ismagulov and Guram Kutataladze, this was a good fight. It was very close. It probably could have gone either way. It was originally announced as a majority decision. Turns out it was a split decision because one of the judges, you know, can't do math. Big surprise there. But Ismagulov is now 5-0 in the UFC. All 5 of those wins are decisions, but he's a multiple-time champion outside the UFC. At 31 years old, I'd really like to see him get more active because, man, dude, he is just a straight-up technician on the feet. He really is, and his wrestling defense is very, very good too. And then Guram, he's 1-1 in the UFC. Both of those fights ended in split decisions. He beat Mateusz Gamrot, which a lot of people thought he lost, and then he lost this fight, which some people thought he won. So, yeah, I still got a lot of hype on him. He's a really good kickboxer. Yeah, he's a really good kickboxer, really good wrestler. Joaquin Buckley and Albert Duraev. Man, Buckley just fucked him up the whole fight. He's evolving very beautifully, I'll say that. And for someone to be this jacked, like, he literally looks like a fucking bodybuilder, dude. He is so ripped. He's so huge. To have this, to be this good at fighting, it's exciting to see, honestly. Now, in 4 of his last 6 fights, he's been awarded performance of the night. Kevin Holland versus Tim Means. This was a pretty good fight. Kevin Holland's now 2-0 at, all right, so he went 5-0 up at 185 pounds in 2020, right? Well, in 2021, he went 0-2 with a no contest, losing 10 rounds in back-to-back fights with Derek Brunson and Marvin Vettori, and then getting stopped in the first round by Kyle Dawkins, though Kyle had voted him. And now in 2022, since moving down to 170 pounds, he's gone 2-0 with 2 second-round finishes. He knocked out Alex Oliveira in his last fight in just 38 seconds into the second round. And now he submits Tim Means with a Darce choke after hurting him at 128 of round 2. Both of which awarded him performance of the night. Man, I'm really excited to see what he can do from here. Like, at welterweight, like, he could be a serious talent, man. He's pretty serious. Like, dude, he's a very skinny, undersized middleweight, and he won a lot of fights up there. Let's imagine what he can do at 170 pounds. Okay, he's still not even 30 years old yet. Actually, he will be 30 in November. But, dude, he's fucking talented, man. And then, well, I want to say this is the second card in a row that Dana White has awarded a performance bonus to everybody that got a finish. So that's super cool. It's also the second card in a row that he gave the main event fight of the night. And then that leads into our main event between Josh Emmett and Calvin Kattar. Now, I am very surprised that I see as many people saying that they thought Calvin Kattar won this fight as they did. Josh Emmett's striking was so much more effective throughout this fight. And people are like, oh, look at Josh Emmett's face. You know, look at Calvin's. Who gives a shit? Some people wear damage differently than others, guys. Look at GSP's face after he fought Nick Diaz. Okay? And then look at Nick Diaz's face. Look at GSP's face after he fought Carlos Condit. Dude, do you think they beat him? No. He fucking mauled both of them easily. Some people just wear damage differently than others. And Emmett's striking was more effective than Kattar's. All Kattar had for Emmett was defensive jabs. That's like really it. I was so surprised that that's all he had. But Emmett's power throughout the first 3 rounds. The first round, it wasn't quite as effective. You know, that was a pretty boring round, feeling each other out. But, dude, I had Emmett win in the first 3 rounds, and then Kattar went in the 4th and 5th. So I thought it was 48-47 Emmett. I was really worried for him once I heard that first scorecard read for Calvin Kattar. And it's just like, dude, Emmett was so much more effective throughout this fight. Like, none of the strikes Calvin landed backed Emmett up. He hurt him in the 4th round. That's it. That's really the only effective thing Calvin Kattar did in the entire 5-round fight. Josh Emmett backed him up every time he actually landed on him. And he landed a lot of combinations too. So, though the striking totals were even throughout the first 3 rounds, I think Josh Emmett definitely won the first 3 rounds. But Calvin Kattar did pull apart and outstrike Emmett by quite a lot in the 4th and 5th. So, I guess it makes sense if you think Calvin Kattar won the fight, but I'd have to watch it again, but I really didn't think he won that fight. And this speaks to my argument before where I said they should have gave Josh Emmett the title fight instead of Chan Sung Jung. They really should have. But at least he won this fight. So at 37 years old, give him his fucking title shot, guys. Please just give Josh Emmett his title shot. That's what's next. Josh Emmett versus the Alexander Volkanovski versus Max Holloway trilogy winner. That's who Josh Emmett needs to fight next. He doesn't have all the time in the world. All right. Seriously. Like Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson showed us what happens when you're at the very tip top of the division and you never get your shot. You get old real quick. Like, come on, don't fucking let that happen to Josh Emmett. He's on a 5-fight win streak now. Give him his title shot. That's all I got to say about that. All right, be looking out for my previews of PFL 5, Bellator 282, which are both going down this Friday, and then UFC on ESPN 38. I'll have those videos out to you in a couple of days. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, because I'm really trying to grow the channel and, you know, do something with this. So thank you so much. Have a good one.
Hey, hey, hey. I was down, but now I'm up. Being rich really got me bummed. 100K knows not enough. My bad man fall in love. Run up on God. Let's have some fun. Hello, 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 hello. make it past 27 without killing myself.